that they're kooky, mysterious and spooky.
Electronic music has always had that kind of weird thing with like what is the performer bringing to it visually. They're just, you know, some DJs and stuff like are very personable and have are great like that, and so it's fun to even just watch them kind of dance around and stuff. And then there's the kind of the other side of it, which is the kind of more, you know, conceptual AV show where the person is just kind of standing there and the stuff is happening behind them. So I kind of wanted to try and maybe mix a bit of them both. Yeah, just kind of create a playground where it didn't really have to be as serious as well. I suppose that's the thing for me with the Arad project. It's more kind of, it's a little bit more playful. I kind of think of it as more colorful. Also, the kind of styles of music that I've done have changed pretty quickly over the different releases. It started off much kind of more kind of straight, kind of grayscale-y techno, and then I started kind of doing the processed vocals part of it. I want the kind of on-screen persona to be kind of come its own character and something that you could kind of see that character on the screen could write its own songs and have its own weird fantasy worlds. For me, that's always kind of what electronic music really represents for me, is kind of escapism. And you know, it's like this way that like a young guy growing up in the countryside in Ireland can kind of, you know, hear all this kind of sci-fi space music from Detroit or Birmingham, or just this kind of weird robotic stuff, and you kind of put on your headphones and you go to somewhere totally different. And I've always liked that, and so I kind of now with the AV part of it, I kind of feel that can become a visual part of it as well. I think I'm pretty close to being able to use this kind of whole face tracking concept as a live show, and so I'd really like that to be kind of part of it as well, you know, like the kind of character really kind of visually comes alive for people on stage as well. So I'll be there, I'll be singing, it'll be kind of processed, and then behind there'll be kind of like abstract processed visuals, but you can still see it's the person on the stage and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's like my human self and an alter ego behind, and so I kind of like that idea. And I often, like as I've started doing it, I've kind of noticed myself being kind of inspired by the alter ego, if you will. Like it kind of becomes such a kind of crazy psychedelic thing. It kind of pushes you a little bit more to be like, you know, yeah, what would that character sing about? What worlds would they inhabit and stuff like that. And so I find it kind of becomes this nice feedback loop between the two. You know? Visuals with lacquer recently, I mean the first, I kind of go through different versions of the AV show. The first one was a very kind of simple thing. I just tried to make as much as I could out of the old lacquer logo, which was kind of like 3 circles. What really blew me away at the start was Alvinotto's AV show. I saw that at Block, and that was just, you know, that was just mind-blowing for me. Basically because it was so simple in some ways. It was just like lines, colored lines that moved, and I was like, that's, you know, but the whole AV show was like that, and that really influenced me. Just this idea of kind of like taking one idea and just pushing it as far as you can, you know. I tend to be very chaotic. I'm a bit of a magpie mind. I'm always interested in new things, like a kind of small puppy, like, oh, that's interesting, and I get very excited. And that used to kind of annoy me at the start. I used to wish I had more of a kind of minimalist aesthetic. But then after a while, I just realized, well, that's not me. You know, that's not who I am. I'm kind of messy, chaotic, and that should just come out of my work. Yeah, with visuals and music, it's kind of, yeah, chicken and egg, which comes first, you know. But yeah, for me, they're just so interlinked that I don't really think of them as separate anymore. And I really enjoy that. I kind of feel like I've left something out if I just do an audio only thing, you know. And even if it's just something as small as the artwork, or even if I don't even do the artwork myself, getting like my idea across to whoever did it, that was really good. I worked with La Turbo Avedon for the Bedouin thing, And when somebody really listens and you describe what you're looking for, and then they come out with a nice piece of artwork, it's like, okay, that's where we're going with this, and then it feels complete, you know. Yeah, so the live show, at the start I was just, at the start it was a very kind of classic techno like live set, so it was just, Ableton, the push here and stuff like that, just kind of messing around, processing stuff, kind of looping stuff, all that sort of thing. But then once I started to do the vocal part of it, that took a while to kind of, I did 1 or 2 shows that were probably a bit ropey at the start, and I realized, like, I'm not a trained singer. It's like a synthesizer, but I just happen to be putting words to it. So when you're driving stuff with autotune and with vocoders and stuff like that, it's basically you're writing synthesis lines with MIDI and stuff like that, and then you just happen to be saying things through it, and that's kind of, you're controlling the rhythm, I suppose, and of course you're controlling the pitch. I'm not singing totally out of key, I can hold a note, but yeah, I liked that really synthesis kind of approach to it, and so yeah, once I figured out kind of, where to have stuff pre-programmed and where to have stuff live, for me, and myself and Ian always talk about this, it's really important as an electronic producer, we spend so long working on the sound, it's important when you go out live that you influence that sound in a way that improves it or brings a live element to it that's necessary, and you're not just cutting stuff up and adding effects to things just to do something live. For me, like, some of the most interesting live performances I've seen have actually been DJs who've just been really good on 2 turntables, because they're, it's like you don't need to control everything, you just need to control a few bits and practice doing those bits. I mean, for ages with the Lacquer show, I used to just, when I would do some visuals and then I'd just have a CDJ with, like, Ian would do the main part of the music, and then I would have just vocal samples or little parts of the melodies on a CDJ and just pitch it up and down and just trigger it with the little cue points, or and I found out I was actually adding more interesting stuff that way than I was having a full array of, like, complicated patches or stuff like that. Yeah, it's like, it's important to kind of know where you're adding something interesting to the show, and I feel like the Arad show, the live set now, all the tuning is driven by MIDI and stuff like that, and I'm happy that I just can now perform and I can focus on my singing and not having to be worried about spinning too many plates, So last year at KRAKE, it was really something special for me, also because basically Nico and Katinka and the Kiely Kill were the whole reason I'm kind of making music. Like, one of our friends recommended us to them, and they started our whole Lacquer career, Arad, all that sort of stuff. They've been supportive of us over the years. So for me, it was a really special night. That's when I really feel that was the gig that I felt really was like my best Arad gig, and it was like a good space, just the right size, nice people before and afterwards. And the great thing about all the Kiely Kill stuff is it's never kind of like, po-faced kind of like shaping kind of, or sceney kind of vibe. It's just always like they could have a punk band, they could have somebody banging a stick for an hour, you know what I mean? It's always interesting and out there sort of stuff, obviously, great electronic music as well, but you don't feel limited, like, okay, I have to play 4/4, or I have to play like 133 BPM, take the kick drum out, bring in a hi-hat, techno all night, it's like, it's really, you can do whatever you want, and Nico's just like, great, so that night was really special for me, and just like a nice vibe. I got to focus on the kind of singing, on the performance. The crowd are there, they're feeding back to you, and there's good energy and stuff. So yeah, it's really nice when you can do gigs like that,